Joining us now, I don't even know how to introduce David Fleming, ESPN SI, author of A Big Mess in Texas, investigative reporter Pablo Torre Finds Out, which is how this entire thing is arranged today, not through Pablo, but through a direct contact I made with David, because I was pretty honored the other day when I saw, oh, look, David Fleming follows me on Twitter. I figure he must be a closet Carolina Hurricanes fan. And as it turns out, maybe he is, but he's local. His daughter goes to Carolina, and he joins us now on the Adam Gold Show. Mr. Fleming, it is an honor. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize how busy I was until that introduction. But I'm not a full Caniac.
Right.
I was born and raised in Detroit, so I'm just a desperate hockey fan, I guess. But I appreciate your work.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate yours. And it really was. I was like, oh, cool. And you don't see that every day. But I appreciate you following me, and I won't even know if you unfollow. All right, so I know you're doing some work for Pablo Torre Finds Out, who has been all over everything at the University of North Carolina, as well as other things. I mean, what a year it has been. If that's not an award-winning 2025, I don't know what is. But you have uncovered some, I don't know if irregularities is the right way to put it, but if I described Michael Lombardi, North Carolina's general manager for football, as a serial embellisher, would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's actually. I wish I would have had that line for the show, but I think that is 100% fair and accurate.
So, where did this begin? And he obviously, when you are a serial embellisher, and I think we all know people who will say, "Oh, I got 1,000 emails yesterday." Nobody gets that much, unless you work for Expedia. So, where did this begin with Lombardi?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you, my rule is the faster, if you meet someone and the quicker that they tell you that they were a college athlete, the more likely it is that they're completely lying, right? That it was a club team. So that's a rule that I have found to be almost 100% true. But I remember when Lombardi got the job that made him the highest paid GM in college football, he's making $600,000 more than the GM at Ohio State. So just let that sink in for a second. And he comes up with this ridiculous, which he thinks, you can just tell he thinks it's so super cool, this idea that Carolina is going to instantly become the 33rd NFL team.
Yeah.
And even back then, I texted Pablo, and I was like, I'm like, first of all, this is a ridiculous plan because they're almost two completely different levels of football. But how would Michael Lombardi, and I think there was an F in there somewhere, how the F would Michael Lombardi know what an NFL team looked like? He's been out of the league and unemployable for 9 years. So that was our first indication that he was going to continue sort of stretching the truth, especially when it came to his resume.
I know David Fleming is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. You follow him on Twitter at FlemFile. I know I was watching the episode that you were just on in studio with Pablo, and you refer to you bring up the fact that he is being referred to as a 3-time Super Bowl champion. And what I found interesting is that I pulled up his Wikipedia page, and they only refer to him as a 1-time Super Bowl champion, and it was Super Bowl 49, which was, I guess, the year before the Panthers were there, so that was 2014. Right. Patriots, I don't know who the Patriots beat that year, but it was his, I think it was his last year in New England. He's
got, and that was the other thing, this is so strange, but I think this is it's a pattern with people like this, right? Why would you? He was there. He was on the staff in New England. He was, I think it was some title like assistant to the head coach or something like that. But none of that matters. He was there. He helped. He had input. He won that Super Bowl. Like, isn't one enough? But it turns out, he's claiming to be an executive and a strategist for a Super Bowl in 1984 when he was the staff assistant for the scouting department in his first year in the NFL. And it's sort of true, but not true. And that just made us then dig in deeper and say, boy, what else is going on here? And that's when we stumbled across the fact that he had been let go he claims a third Super Bowl in 2016, but he had actually been let go by the Patriots in June of that year. And it was 7 months later when the Patriots won that Super Bowl that Michael Lombardi is sort of flashing around and showing people. And it's a very it's a strange phenomena because, again, he doesn't really need to do it. And the fact that nobody would fact check this is also kind of a bizarre situation.
Yeah, I believe I saw the video. That was the ring he was showing Rich Eisen, I think, on the Rich Eisen show that year. Is he good?
Adam, okay, you got to I have to jump in here because
did I get him backwards?
No. If you watch that interview, it's unbelievable. The first thing he says is, "Yeah, Rich, that's why you lift all those weights."
Yeah, that's a Bill Parcellsism.
Right. And it was like, oh, my God, if like anybody just even glances at the record, they'll know that you weren't there and you were let go because internally they thought you were a detriment to achieving that goal. And I got to tell you, Bill Belichick, and he did some of this in the press conference after the loss on Saturday, right? This sort of gruff, short answers. He's a big, there are no such things as participation trophies, right? This isn't eighth grade. Then he turns around and awards Michael Lombardi this fictitious Super Bowl ring. It just makes you think, I mean, if that guy comes into your living room and he's telling you he's going to take care of your teenage son he's trying to recruit, it's like, I mean, if you're going to fib about the little things, you'll fib about anything.
David Fleming is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show at Flemfile on Twitter. Maybe this is just the fundamental flaw of Bill in that he finds somebody who, I'm not even going to say he has no credibility. He must have some credibility. He has worked in the NFL long enough, even if it's fringy, that he's basically the great yes man. So he validates what Bill thinks. Even though Bill might be wrong about things, he's certainly wrong about Michael Lombardi's ability to build an NFL roster. Is there any significant level of success in that department in Lombardi's career?
No, I mean, we went back and we checked. It's not just that he was out of the NFL and unemployable. And according to sources that I have across the league, he was trying very hard to get hired and just nobody would take him on. And so there's a 9-year gap in his resume. Now think about that. If you're an 18-year-old kid, you barely know who Bill Belichick is. Your parents might. But that means the last time Michael Lombardi was even in the NFL, let alone in a decision-making position, you were 9 years old. So this really is, I think you hit on something really, really smart, Adam. At the end of the day, this is an indictment on Bill Belichick. This is who they brought him in and paid him $60 million, and this is who he decided, the smartest football guy in the world. This is who he decided to run the program. I don't think it's a coincidence that the team is in the shape that it's in today.
And I know your daughter goes to Carolina. You said she was embarrassed by the TCU game. What has it been like for her on campus during this?
Yeah, it was such a for it to fall off the cliff, right, so fast.
Right.
And I think that's a really important distinction. And I think as Carolina maybe has to make a decision. Do they stick with Bill Belichick? Do they see this through, or do they just sort of cut ties? I mean, that's the bigger issue, right? Is that this has not almost the football's terrible, and maybe it's improving, maybe it's not. Yeah. I saw a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes and problems on the field the last couple of weeks, even though they looked better. But at the end of the day, this is about, and I think people in Carolina understand this, right? This is about the school. I mean, they've paid $60 million to be the laughingstock of the NCAA, right? This is about the sort of the Jordan yoga poses on the beach. This is about, this is that, and that's what I think. What I picked up that people were angry about was it's not the bad football. I mean, we're used to that, right? With the Tarheels.
It's true.
It's that we paid a premium to be made fools of over and over and over again. It just does. There's no end to it.
I kind of dug the mermaid photo. I'm not even going to lie. I thought there was something to that. I think there's also an ego involved at the highest levels of the university, whether it's the chancellor, Lee Roberts, or John Pryor, the chairman of the board of trustees at the time, who really pushed for Belichick. I don't believe for a second, and he could personally dispute it to me if he wanted to, but I don't believe for a second that Bubba Cunningham thought, let's go get Bill Belichick. Not for one single second. And it cost him what I'm going to guess is a pretty expensive suit jacket at the press conference when he cut the sleeves off of it. But I think it's the egos at the top of the food chain here that will prevent them from cutting bait.
Well, then that's a huge mistake. And that might even be a bigger embarrassment than to Carolina and who's running Carolina and what's important at Carolina. I mean, right? I don't think you have to be a genius in business to know that it's a terrible idea to keep throwing bad money after bad decisions. Sure. And if they're not, if you're going to be, if you're going to be a big enough leader to step up and make this bold decision, then you got to own it and you got to take responsibility for it. And that might be even more pathetic than if they're just going to ride it out because of their own egos and not what's great for Carolina. They're in the wrong position. They need to go too.
Yeah, man. But egos are egos. And these people, like Jerry Jones is still the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys because he can't get past the fact that, it's just football. Anybody can do it. He's just disrespecting the entire industry by continuing to make mistakes as the GM of that team. He should just sit back. He could be a great owner, except that he becomes a bad owner because he hires poorly. But it's egos that get in the way. David Fleming at Flemfile on Twitter, investigatively reporting for Pablo Torre Finds Out, which, again, this has been incredible stuff. One more thing about Michael Lombardi, and then I want to ask you about your book, A Big Mess in Texas, which I think there are some comparables between your book and what's going on in Chapel Hill. Do you think, because I personally think that behind the scenes, the university would like to make Lombardi a fireable person, get rid of him, which will either make things better because they'll have to appoint somebody who knows what they're doing, or force Bill to resign, in which case they wouldn't be on the hook for the full $30 million of whatever going away money.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. There's something has to happen, right? Some kind of power shift has to happen. And I think Bill already proved in New England that if it came down to him or Michael Lombardi, that he would get rid of Michael Lombardi. But it will help Bill. If Bill's going to stick around, my God, bring in somebody who knows college football, who's got connections, who understands recruiting and the transfer portal. I mean, if you've seen the Tarheels in action early in the season, I mean, you understand that they are just not equipped with the players. I mean, Bill Belichick could be, he could be even 1,000 times better as a teacher and a coach. If you don't have the personnel, you're never going to rise to a level that I think the investment dictates. But yeah, I think there's going to be, if there hasn't already been, serious discussions about there has to be some major changes in the way things are done and who's running them if this experiment is going to move forward. And at this point, Carolina doesn't really have anything to lose. If they can call his bluff and move on, I mean, how are things going to get worse?
Well, that is true. But there's a phrase: things can always get worse. But I think in this case, you're probably right. David Fleming at Flemfile. All right, so it is a mess over in Chapel Hill, although I do think it has improved. The title of your book, A Big Mess in Texas, is about the 1952 Dallas Texans, which I didn't realize they went bankrupt. I thought they became the Kansas City Chiefs, what we know as the Kansas City Chiefs. But explain to me this team in 1952 and how dysfunctional they really were.
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me my next book idea, which is A Big Mess in Carolina. I think that will be the sequel. I appreciate that. Maybe you can help. You could co-author it with me. But yeah, so I think there was a Dallas Texans team in Dallas that became the Kansas City Chiefs. And this team sort of came and went so quickly, people forget about it or don't know about it. But in 1952, this was the NFL's first attempt to put a franchise in the South and in Texas, and it went sort of horribly, epically, hilariously wrong in like 6 months. And I think they sort of came and went and drank their way out of the league so quickly nobody remembers them. But it's it's like Animal House meets Bad News Bears. It is. If you think, that's why people should read it. If you're a depressed Tarheels fan, read this book and understand. Yeah, things could totally be worse.
Oh my gosh! Is it anything like North Dallas 40?
Well, there were some rumors while I was researching it that this team was the inspiration for North Dallas 40. And so that just gives you a little bit of hint of kind of what was going on.
That is, maybe we can make this one into a movie as well. A Big Mess in Texas, the miraculous, disastrous 1952 Dallas Texans, and the craziest untold story in NFL history. David Fleming, I appreciate the fact that you followed me. And hopefully we can talk again. And it doesn't have to be about UNC.
No. How about when the Red Wings and the Canes meet in the playoffs? We'll talk then.
All right. Well, so we'll speak in April.
That's right.
All right. Thank you very much, David. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, Adam.
You got it. David Fleming here on the Adam Gold Show at Flemfile.